Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss few things about MorphFS version 2. You must be wondering why am I not sitting in front of my laptop and doing coding? Because I felt like before we jump into coding, we should know the logic behind it. So we logically and structurally build a map for the code so that it will become easier for us when we sit to code. So that's the intent of this video. So we started off with version 1, right? If you remember, if someone new watching and wondering what is this MorphFS version 1 and all, so please go to the playlist and please check out other videos as well, so you'll get an idea what we are trying to build. So it's a file system. It's a file system that we are trying to build. In version 1, we used only array, and we were only able to add file names and view file names, and it was only at the compiler level. It was only at the the code level. It was only at the compiler level. It was not getting into, we were not communicating with the OS or our memory. It was not direct communication with the memory. We just did it to know the limitations of array and how we can implement the logic, how we can add file names, how we can add things. The basic idea was that we built version 1. We were able to weave also. Once we added, we were able to weave it back. So that was version 1, right? We also did the coding part as well. So now today we are building MorphFS version 2, at least logically. So there should be some upgrades, right? Upgrades only matters because even in phones you will be seeing that version 1, version 2, a small changes they'll be doing. So my idea behind creating versions, I could have directly jumped to the final version and taught you all the things like how to build a file system, but I felt that it would be unfair for the people who are beginners and who wants to understand the concepts and take a time to build something from what they already know. So I'm going step by step, topic wise, and whatever we learn, we put together in our next version, and it's an upgrading. It's like if you are following the Marvel, or if you are a fan of Iron Man or something, or Batman even for that matter, their mentality is something like they'll always try to upgrade. Whenever there is a limitation, the next moment they'll be thinking about upgrading things, trying to solve a problem. Here the problem was two things. One, array had the limitation of size. Second thing was we were not able to communicate with the direct we were not able to communicate with OS, because OS is an operating system. What in if you are using Windows, it's an operating system, right? It is a manager. It is managing everything, the files that you see. It is communicating with the hardware and bringing you things whenever you ask for it. So that's the operating system tasks. So we were just adding file names and viewing file names. When the program runs, these existed. Otherwise it didn't register to the memory, or uh, even we didn't communicate to OS. So that is the primary problem that we had. We didn't build a communication system between OS and our program. So that was one thing. Array had the problem of size, which I feel in this we won't be able to do that. In next versions we will sort that thing, right? Because we haven't learned the linked list yet. So I thought before that we will build version 2 so that we understand how to communicate with the system and how to bring a real how to get the things that we want, right? So that was the intent behind this. So I have already explained what version 1 had. So now version 2, for version 2, the topics that the concepts that we will be using is struct, pointers, array, and I have explained in detail about all these things in different videos. If you haven't watched it, please go and watch it. You will understand it better. So this is all, this video is completely on the logic, building the code, you know, behind building a code there is a logic, right? It is logical thinking more than technical thinking, so keep that in mind. So the final thing that what we want from the version 2 is it should retrieve a real metadata of the file. This also I have explained when I explained the struct, when I explained in the struct video. If you watch it, you'll understand the metadata thing, why is it important, how is it useful for us, and what its primary goal, and what are the capabilities that we will get, and why is it important for the file. All these things that I have covered in struct video. So that's been said, let's dive in, let's dissect it and understand what we have to do to make this happen. Yeah, let's go one by one. Now upgrade is we have to get the real metadata of a file. This again, for your information, this version 2 only happens, like only gives one file's metadata at a time, one single file's metadata at a time. There is a still arrays limitation here. We will sort it in the next version, but just keep in mind it will give us real metadata though. It will give us real metadata of a file which is existing inside your, you know, system, inside your real memory of the system. So for that we should have this sorted, right? We should know like what input that users should give, because we are building it for users. At the end, when the final version happens, it's for everyone. Not only it should not locally run, and it should even work for others as well, other users. So you should develop this mindset of how users will go through. That helps a lot when you build a UI and UX. So for that matter, we have to know this. For any coding, you need to know what is input. What user gives is path. What is path? Path is simply, you just check in your system, there is something like C drive, some folder, and there is file, right? Executable file at the end. There is a drive. Inside that drive there might be folder. Inside that folder there will be a file, right? So what is the output? Again, this is the output that we are expecting, metadata. And it is the metadata, it is the metadata. And if you remember the concept of the struct, I have told you why we use struct: to group, to keep every related information together, because it's all part of one single file, right? Part of this file. For example, I will write what we exactly need: name, name of the file, and size of the file. It will be this GB or MB, something like that. Modified time, some 1 GB file dot text, Thursday, blah blah blah. So this is how our output looks like. This is exactly how our output looks like. If you remember, these are all part of this file, right? It should be wrapped. Don't you think it should be wrapped? Yes, it should be wrapped. And how we can wrap similar data types? Similar data types, we can wrap it through struct. Be clear? Be clear? Yes. So that's done. Now we know what user gives. Now you know what our program the program runs and what we get back. So first and end we know. Now between these these two, what do we have? The functions. Functions. These are all the action points, because in everything there are multiple phases, right? Think like that. There are multiple phases happens to get this single output. So now you don't have to think in the perspective of code. You just think how many functions we might need. Just pause the video and think about it, and write down in a comment below what you think about it. Don't worry about you being right or wrong. Everything is fine. You are still learning. And so please drop that, pause the video and think about it. So coming back to functions, right? Because each of the process, there are different process happening. So each process should be considered as a function, and function may have its own function inside it. For now, what are the main things that we are looking at by the looks of it? So first thing that my mind is giving me is we have to retrieve the information. We have to talk to OS first thing, and we need to retrieve that information and put it in a variable so that we can print. That's exactly the first function is. First function is retrieval. We are doing what? Retrieval. We are retrieving the real metadata and putting it in a variable so that we can use it. Next, we have to print this, right? We have to print. It is a different process altogether. Use this and print that, because there are three different things inside the structure, right? So we have to display. What we have to do? We have to display as well. Done. Next, main function. Every program should consist of main function. For what? For getting what? User input, and to call these functions we need main functions, and also for global variables and all. So what we have understood now, we are done with 50% of this problem, that problem statement what we had, input and output. We understood things in a logical way instead of directly getting into code, directly getting into technical stuff. It's not technical. If you look at it, what it should do, it should retrieve these, for example, the user has given this. From this, it should match, it should search for it, and it should retrieve those information and put it inside this and give it back. That is this is what exactly this function is doing. Now, since we have already the variable which consists of all these information, we have to display it. Very simple one. So display this function. Next, main function. I have already explained what main function is. Now we understood these things. Let's dive. This is 50% is done. Even though you don't know anything about coding, you should be knowing this. You should be understanding this. Why am I trying to do this? Because this is a process. If you put yourself to think like this, you will be good at design thinking. You will be good at, you will eventually reach to the point where the whole code appears in front of you when something comes in, when some idea comes to your brain. That's the thing. That's the model. These are all the mental models I'm trying to incorporate into that learning. So let's dive deep into each one of this. Let's call this as get info. Okay, get info. Okay, let's call this display info. Display info, right? This is main. So what should be the input for this? Any idea? Think and answer. Try to answer it in comment section. So get info some basic logical thinking. We don't need any rules and regulations, because those things can be discussed when we start to implement it through code, right? Now let's build the logic first. So imagine we have built the struct. There is struct and we call it as file. There is a file, there is this file, and we have path. Of course we have to send the path, right? Because it should know what we are trying to search. Path that should exist here. Done. Next, where it should be updated. It should be updated in the format of this format. We will build it. When you see the code, you'll understand it. Just know that we are telling the computer, because if you remember, while explaining struct, I have told you guys, this is a custom data type. Because it stores multiple type of data types within it. So these things constitute and gives us a data type. Struct itself is a data type. When you use this file info, let's say file info, I'm using exact words so that you don't get confused when we start coding. So there is a file info, and we are telling the computer, hey computer, this is the structure that we are going ahead with. So in its part of file, when we initialize a file, in each file, whenever, for example, there is a for loop and we start to build a file, we start to initialize file inside it. So multiple files, each file consists of these things. That's the struct for you. So the structure, within this we have to fill the information after looking at the memory, after searching inside the memory, right? So one thing is path, another thing is file info. Understood? Path, file, two inputs, done. Understood? I hope you have understood. So next, done. Do you think something is missing here? I feel there is something missing. Don't you think that? I feel that the missing thing is, see, the computer doesn't know the OS yet. We haven't introduced the bridge between OS and our program, right? To have the access to our memory. So how we build it? Because computer by default doesn't have that capability. So we use another inbuilt function called stat inside this. What we use? Stat, S-T-A-T. This is a function. This will help us with communicating with OS and retrieving the information. Okay, this is the connection part to the OS. Now it's complete. Now we will have to go through the conditional statement. When we dive into the coding section, we will understand it. Now the structure is done. We use this and done. Now we have, so at the end what happens, inside the file we have those informations. We have all the informations. Now we will have to print that in the way that we want. We have to format the output. You know that with print statement we can do that. Print name, size, modify time. Done. With this, what we do, we take user input and call these functions. And if you remember, I told you that we initialize global variables as well. I think I better talk it when we are coding. So this is what it does. let me summarize this. Okay, we have this MorphFS version 2. So in that, what we are trying to achieve, when a user gives an path like this, for example, what it has to do, it has to take this input and it has to go to the go to this function to retrieve the information. To retrieve the information, we need to establish a connection with OS. That's why we are using stat. At the end, we will be able to get these things inside the file, and we pick what are all the things that we need and format it in the desired format that we are expecting, that is name, size, modified time, and print it out. In the main, we use a display info function here, and we print it out. And in the main function, you know that user gives the input and function call happens. Once function call happens, from this from this here, the file only will be the input, file only, because from there only we are you know printing all these things, right? So yeah, I think that is it, guys. So I hope your logical base is set, and I think we are ready to get into the coding section. So in the next session, you will be seeing me helping you understand the coding part. So thank you if you have watched till now. Please go and check other videos as well. If you like, please subscribe to the channel, because it motivates me to be more consistent in uploading videos and learning more and doing more things, right? Thank you very much.